It's the 30th of the 6th, 2025. The time is 7 minutes past 10. It is the morning after the night before, and there are three F1 centric threads at which we need to pull. In the first instance, the F1 movie opening weekend, an emblem, no, a signal as to how good it's going to do as far as the financial resources it will bring in to Apple Productions. So too, we'll talk about Mercedes and Max Verstappen, potential news leaked about the performance clause more, and so too we'll talk about Frederick Vasseur. It's going to get techier than techie things. In the first instance, the F1 movie sounds like it's done gangbusters numbers, 144 million US dollars worldwide opening weekend. That, ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury, is gangbusters numbers. It's done 56 million as near as makes no difference in US and Canada, and 89 million US dollars from the rest of the world. An indication of the numbers that we're looking at for context. Brad Pitt in 2013, his biggest opening weekend, World War Z, 111 million US dollars. For the avoidance of doubt, F1 did 144 million. 2013 was a different time for cinema as well. More people were going then. That, ladies and gentlemen, is chaos for the F1 movie. Does that mean that I'm going to go? I'm not so sure. I think I still need to watch it on my television for free. 540 million gross is what World War Z did when all was said and done. Meaning, therefore, I don't know if you're extrapolating out numbers and forecasting, 700 million worldwide potentially for F1 movie. Joe Sayward, the legend of Formula One, writes that it's doing well because of word of mouth. People are talking about it. This is Drive to Survive, ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury. Therefore, there will be an uptick in attention dollars because of this film on the sporting endeavour par excellence that we call the Fs. Apple original films are high-fiving each other all over the show. And by the way, Frederick Vasseur, rumour, we've talked about this a gazillion times, but it's important. This is the gift that will keep giving. Scuderia Ferrari, the yellow badge, the black prancing horse atop the red car. It's always going to be chaotic. It's always going to be a pressure cooker of a circumstance. We know this. Frederick Vasseur, per the rumour, had to leave the Austrian Grand Prix for personal reasons even. Rumour is of family bereavement. Extraordinary coincidence, writes Joe Sayward. For the avoidance of doubt, all F1 journals are created equally, but some, mention no names in Joe Sayward, are created more equal than others. Here's what we know. The Gazzetta and Corriere della Sera were writing chaos last week, talking about Frederick Vasseur being deposed, replaced by one Christian Horner, that John Elkann, CEO of Stellantis, and therefore Scuderia Ferrari, is obsessed with Christian Horner, that he's looking left, right and centre for a replacement of a Frederick Vasseur. We know this as well. Frederick Vasseur's contract runs out this year. He signed in 2022 on a 3-year deal, just like George Russell. Then where is the new contract? If you indeed want to keep that dude on, surely the contract negotiations will be ongoing in real time, and there are none. Jen Elkann doesn't want Frederick Vasseur to stay. This is George Russell settings. And why? Well, the naysayers, the detractors, as far as these rumours, will say Frederick Vasseur's not doing too badly. Martin Brundle said it would be suicide for Ferrari to get rid of Frederick Vasseur, that their problems don't stem from their choice of team principle. It's deeper than that. It's infrastructure, it's mechanical, it's aerodynamic, it is the car, it's the SF25. It is chaos. However, the detractors that say that Ferrari are in the fight for second in the Constructors' Championship want to normalise for a couple different things. If they're fighting Mercedes, Mercedes have in their car a legend in George Russell, a champion in the making, but also in the other seat, a rookie, for Pete's sake. How is that a like for like then? And they are only 1 point adrift of Scuderia Ferrari in the Constructors. So too, they're fighting Red Bull Racing, who only have one guy in the car, Tsunoda-san. That's 3 consecutive races, again, record-breaking settings for a Red Bull driver, that he hasn't scored any points. Red Bull are running a race on one leg. Shout out Christian Horner. Here's what Joe Sayward writes about Frederick Vasseur. It is the Italian media. It is pressure cooker settings. He has got no backing or support. you would understand or expect even John Elkann to come out and say, you know what, vote of confidence for Freddie Vasseur. He's our guy. He's going to take us back to the mountaintop. There has been nothing of the sort from management. Back in the day when it was Jean Todt and the pressure around him started to do one of these, Michael Schumacher came out and said, Jean Todt is our guy. If he leaves, then I'm leaving too. None of that from Lewis. None of that from Charles. Yeah, we like him. They've both come out and said, but they've not got that techie. They haven't raised the stakes in the way that Michael did. Oh, and by the way, there were management crawling around Scuderia Ferrari at the Austrian Grand Prix. Techie Enrico Racca, head of supply chain and manufacturing, he's gone. Michel Antoniazzi, again swimming around Austria and Scuderia Ferrari to ensure that the team are working as they should be. It feels like the operational infrastructure of Scuderia Ferrari, the red car with the yellow badge and black prancing course, is being audited in real time. And then you hear the following: they would be desperate to replace Frederic Vasseur with one Antonella Goletta, the dude who's been running WEC, the dude who can't lose Le Mans 24 hours over the past 3 years. Ferrari, they've been winning. And then I will see you that rumour and speculation, conjecture settings with this. The rumour is that they would love for one Andrea Stella, team principal of McLaren, to replace one Frederic Vasseur. It would be a match. The Pep Guardiola of Formula One, a thinking shooter of a team principal. John Elkann has his eyes, his lens, his scopes very firmly on Andrea Stella to replace one Frederic Vasseur. Rumour and speculation, of course, but I digress. Verstappen's friendly reaction to Kimi's torpedo proves he's going to Mercedes 100%, though. So we'll get to it, though, so I promise you. Go on then. Let's talk about it. Joe Saywood writes, for context, here's what we know about Maximilian Verstappen's circumstance. Helmut Marko said it's game over as far as the championship, and Max Verstappen is in F1 to do nothing if not win races and therefore championships. So nobody's going to tell me with a straight face that Max Verstappen won't be thinking in real time about where he goes, ends up for 2026. Now, the options are this. Aston Martin, they've put $1 billion, if rumour and speculation is to be believed, on the table, a blank cheque for Maximilian Verstappen. But you hear that Max didn't necessarily get on with the last airbender, Adrian Newey. Yeah, he understands the value in the chap, but their working relationship wasn't always great, apparently. So then why would he go to the green team and not Mercedes when you have Toto the boy who cried wolf, who would drop kick in the chest of George Russell to get a whiff of the signature of Maximilian Verstappen, foursome, so soon to be 5-time champion? That is chaos. How do we know that? Because Toto the boy who cried wolf has been doing a bloody press tour talking about it. Yes, of course there's ongoing negotiations with Max Verstappen. I would be doing myself and the shareholders a disservice if we have the conversation under the umbrella heading of fiduciary duty, not to talk to the best, the quickest, the sharpest driver on the grid as at June of 2025. That's how we know. Julian Serasoli, again for the avoidance of doubt, all F1 journos are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. Brazilian journo, reputable journo, came out and said this of the Max Verstappen performance clause, that previously the rumour and conjecture had been that Max Verstappen needed to be in the top 4 as at the end of July, going into the summer break this year, if indeed the performance clause wasn't to be effected. Ergo, if Max Verstappen were 5th or lower in the Drivers' Championship, then we can have a conversation about the performance clause. Serasoli said recently all she'd been hearing in the press and media, if word on the F1 curb is something in which you want to be invested, is that it's not top 4, it's top 2. There is no way now that Maximilian Verstappen, it's impossible that Max Verstappen will be in the top 2 as at the end of July. That's your Exhibit A. But Joe Saywood comes out and he's doubled down today. Different lens, different POV. He said it's not the drivers, it's the constructors. And this is where it gets techier than techie things. Here's what he said, that if Red Bull aren't within the top 3 in the Constructors' Championship by the end of July, then Maximilian Verstappen can effect for his performance clause and null and void his contract in real time. Joe Sayward kicks off as an intro to preface this point by saying it's unlikely that Max Verstappen leaves his contract in 2026 and ends up at another team not named Red Bull by then. However, the performance clause could facilitate that. And then you find out that Red Bull are nowhere as far as their performance, ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury. Understeer settings, high speed, aerodynamic efficiency, all the good things that so epitomised the RB19 erstwhile in years gone by are gonzo. They have nothing. Max Verstappen is a demon around the Spielberg ring, and where was he? Nowhere. Okay, so there's a yellow flag tax at the altar of Pierre Gasly. Of course there is, but yet and still, ultimately, when all is told, the numbers speak for themselves. And Max Verstappen, DNF, round 11, nowhere now in the Drivers' Championship. Dr. Helmut Marko of Red Bull GmbH now writing the season off, and it's made worse by the Tsunoda circumstance. The team, the car, SH1 show. I promise you, Max Verstappen over the next couple of weeks will be having a conversation. Oh, and by the way, all F1 journals are created equally, but some are created more equal than others. Andrew Benson on Checkered Flag podcast puts forth this supposition on the back of a Yuki Tsunoda conversation. Roll the clip.
Lindblad?
So I don't know, but my prediction is this. In fact, I put this prediction to Helmut Marko in Montreal 2 weeks ago. I said, well, it's obvious you're going to drop Tsunoda. You're going to put Hadjar in the second Red Bull alongside Max. You're going to give Lindblad one of the Racing Bulls seats, and then you've got a decision to make about Liam Lawson. And he just smiled at me and walked off. So
you're going to be the advisor. It's not going to be Sebastian Vettel. It's going to be Andrew Benson. I knew. With Lindblad?
So go on then. Benson puts forth the following supposition. I apologise if the audio is low, but do you know what I mean? He puts forth this. Tsunoda-san will be gone next year, maybe even before next year. Tsunoda-san is Honda's guy, and Honda now are associated going forward from 2026 with Aston Martin. Therefore, his tenure at Red Bull is shaky. He'll be gone. Hadjar gets the promotion to the big seat alongside one Maximilian Verstappen. Andrew Benson of BBC puts forth, and then you promote Arvin Lindblad alongside Liam Lawson as far as the Racing Bulls lineup. I think Andrew Benson's missed something out. However, variable change of material consequence. This is what I think it will look like, and you will take this to the bank, ladies and gentlemen. Max Verstappen, if past his prologue in 2025, will not be a Red Bull racing driver in 2026. He and Jos and Raymond Vermeulen, Team Verstappen, will effect for their performance clause and null and void their contract in real time on the promise of Mercedes building a god-tier power unit in 2026, just like they did the split-turbo hybrid in 2016. So Max Verstappen, you can take out of the Red Bull equation for now. Therefore, Andrew Benson, I will see you that and raise you this. Here's what they'll do. They'll promote Isaac Hadjar because he's been brilliant this year, but not to sit alongside Yuki Tsunoda or even Maximilian Verstappen, to sit alongside one King George Russell of Kings Lynn, Norfolk. There will be then in the Racing Bulls one Liam Lawson, and so too one Arvid Lindblad. He will be the next one, the next champion potentially. Helmut Marko's words, not mine. Ladies and gentlemen, an F1 jury, over the next couple of weeks, going into Silverstone next weekend, it will be chaos. Driver silly season is afoot, and there will be news breaking. I promise you, you can take that one to the bank. Oh, the humanity.